Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Vitam Sya Om Ajnanatimrandasya Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milidam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Vidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Cha Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanu Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bande Tam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyashishwara Shedaram Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Antya-lila, chapter 10, Lord Chaitanya accepts prashadam. Verse number 58. Bera Sankirtana Tahana Ramba Korila Sata Sampradaya Tabe Gaite Lagila. After seeing Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his all-encompassing Sankirtan. He formed 7 groups, which then began to chant. Shata Sampradaye Nritya Aramba Shatajan Advaita Charyara Prabhu Nityananda. In each of the 7 groups was a principal dancer, such as Advaita Charya or Lord Nityananda, Vakeshwara, Achyutananda, Pandita Shivas, Satyaraj, Khan, Ara, Naraharidas. The dancers in the other groups were Rakeshwara Pandit, Achyutananda, Pandita Shrivas, Satyaraj Khan, and Naraharidas. Shata Sampradaye Prabhu Korana Brahman, Mora Sampradaye Prabhu Aiche Savarman. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu walked from one group to another, inspecting them, the men in each group thought, the Lord is within our group. Sankirtana Kolahale Akasha Bedila Sabha Jagannatha Vashi Dekite Aila. The congregational chanting made a tumultuous roar that filled the sky. All the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri came to see the kirtan. The reason the men in each group thought the Lord is within our group, because by the Lord's mystic potency it seemed as if the Lord, that he was in all the groups simultaneously, but each one thought he's in their group. The congregational chanting made a tumultuous roar that filled the sky. All the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri came to see the kirtan. Raja Shiduri Deke Nijagana Loya Rajapatni Sabdeke Atali Chariya. Accompanied by his personal staff, the king also came there and watched from a distance, and all the queens watched from the elevated parts of the palace. Kirtana tope prithvi kore tolamal haridwane kore lok hoila kolahao. Due to the forceful vibration of kirtan, the entire world began trembling. When everyone chanted the holy name, they made a tumultuous sound. Emata katakan koraila kirtan apane nachite tabe prabhur hoilaman. In this way the Lord had a congregational chanting, kirtan, performed for some time, and then he himself desired to dance. Satadike Sata Sampradaya Gai Bajai Madhye Maha Premaveshin Nache Gorarai. The 7 groups began chanting and beating their drums in 7 directions, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began dancing in the center in great ecstatic love. Udiya para Mahaprabhur mane smriti hoila, sarupere se para gaite Antya-lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remembered a line in the Orisan language and ordered Swarup Damodar to sing it. Jagamohan pari Mundajai, Jagamohan Pari Mundajao, let my head fall at the feet of Jagannath in the kirtan hall known as Jagamohan. Eparinritya koran parama aveshe sabalok chodike prabhur prema jhali bashe. Simply because of this line, Mahaprabhu was dancing in great ecstatic love. People all around him floated in the water of his tears. So the ideas of Jagamohan Pari Mundajo. Let me offer myself, let my head touch the ground in front of Lord Jagannath. Let my head fall at the feet of Jagannath in the kirtan hall known as Jagamohan. Eparinritya koran paramaveshe sablok chodike prabhur prema jalibashe. Simply because of this line, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in great ecstatic love. People all around him floated in the water of his tears. Bo bo bolana Prabhu Shri Bahutuliya Haridwani Kore Lok Anande Basiya. Raising his 2 arms, the Lord said, chant, chant, floating in transcendental bliss. The people responded by chanting the holy name of Hari. Prabhupada Morchajai Shvasa Nahiyar Achambite Ute Prabhu Koreya Hunkar. The Lord fell to the ground unconscious, not even breathing. Then suddenly he stood up, making a loud sound. Sagana Pulaka Jaina Shimulera Taru Kabu Prafulitanga Kabu Hoesharu. The hairs on his body constantly stood up like the thorns on a shimula tree. Sometimes his body was swollen and sometimes lean and thin. Pratiroma kupe hoy prasveda raktogam jajagaga parimumu gadgadabachan. He bled and perspired from every pore of his body. His voice faltered. Unable to say the line properly, he uttered Jagagaga Parimumu. That's from the line Jagamohan Parimundajo. Let me offer myself at the feet of Jagannath in the kirtan hall known as Jagamohan. But Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy, all this is happening in his ecstasy, he can only say the line improperly as Jagagaga Parimumu. Ekek danta jena pritak pritak nade aiche nade danta jena bhume kashipade. All his teeth shook as if each were separate from the others. Indeed, they seemed about to fall to the ground. Kane kane bore prabhur ananda vesh tritiya prahar hoila nritya nahisesh. His transcendental bliss increased at every moment. Therefore, even by mid-afternoon, the dancing had not ended. His transcendental bliss increased at every moment. Therefore, even by mid-afternoon, the dancing had not ended. Sab lokeru talila ananda sagar, sab loka pasharila dena atmagar. The ocean of transcendental bliss overflowed, and everyone present forgot his body, mind, and home. Tabe Nityananda Prabhu Srijila Upai Krame Krame Kirtaniya Rakila Sabai. Then Nityananda Prabhu found a way to end the kirtan. He gradually stopped all the chanters. Swarupera Sanghe Matra Ek Sampradai Swaruper Sange Seha Mandas Swaradgai. Thus only one group continued chanting with Swarup Damodar, and they chanted very softly. Thus only one group continued chanting with Swarup Damodar, and they chanted very softly. Kolaho Nahi Prabhur Kichu Baya Hoila Tavinityananda Sabar Shrama Janaila. When there was no longer a tumultuous sound, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to external consciousness. Then Nityananda Prabhu informed him of the fatigue of the chanters and dancers. Bhakta Shama Jani Koila Kirtana Samapan Sabha Loya Ashikoila Samudre Snapan. Understanding the fatigue of the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped the congregational chanting. Then he bathed in the sea, accompanied by them all. Sabloya Prabhu Koila Prashada Bhojan Sabare Vidai Dila Korite Shayan. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took prashadam with all of them, and then asked them to return to their dwellings and take rest. Gambhirai Dware Korana Apane Shayan Govinda Ashiya Kore Parasambhahan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay down at the door of the Gambhir, and Govinda came there to massage his legs. Sarvakaliyache Sudrida Niyam Prabhu Jadi Prashad Paya Korana Shayan Govinda Shiya Kore Parasamvahan Tabe Jai Prabhura Sesha Korana Bhojan. It was a steady, long-standing rule that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would lie down to rest after lunch, and Govinda would come to massage his legs. Then Govinda would honor the remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sabdwara Judi Prabhu Koriyache Shayan. Sabdwara Judi Prabhu Kori Jachena Shayan Bitare Chaitanare Govinda Kore Nibedan. This time, when the Lord lay down, he occupied the entire doorway. Govinda could not enter the room, and therefore he made the following request. Ek pashahao mora deha bitara jaite prabhu kohe shakti nahi anga chalaite. Govinda said, kindly turn on one side, let me pass to enter the room. However, the Lord replied, I don't have the strength to move my body. Bar bar Govinda kohe ek di koite prabhu kohe anga ami nari chalaite. Govinda made his request again and again, but the Lord replied, I cannot move my body. Govinda kohe korite chahe parasambhahan prabhu kohe koraba nakora jay loya tomaraman. Govinda repeatedly requested, I want to massage your legs, but the Lord said, do it or don't do it. It depends upon your mind. Tabe Govinda Bahirvas Tara Uparediya Bitaragare Gela Mahaprabhure Langiya. Then Govinda spread the Lord's his cloth over his body, and in this way entered the room by crossing over the Lord. Parasambhahan Koila Kate Prishta Chapila Madhuram Mardane Prabhur Parishrama Gela. Govinda massaged the Lord's legs as usual. He pressed the Lord's waist and back very softly, and thus all the Lord's fatigue went away. So, Suke Nidra Hoila Prabhur Govinda Chapeyanga Danda Dui Bai Prabhur Hoila Nidra Banga. As Govinda stroked or massaged the Lord's body, the Lord slept very nicely for about 45 minutes, and then his sleep broke. Govinde Dekiya Prabhu Bole Krudahaya Ajikene Etakan Achis Vaisya. When Mahaprabhu saw Govinda sitting by his side, he was somewhat angry. "Why have you been sitting here for so long today?" the Lord asked. Mora nidra hoile kene na gela prashad kaite Govinda kohe dware shwila jaite nahi pate. "Why didn't you go to take your meal after I fell asleep?" the Lord asked. Govinda replied, "You were lying down, blocking the door, and there was no way to go." Prabhu kohe bitare tabi aila kemone taiche kene prashad loite na koila gamane. The Lord asked, "How did you enter the room? Why didn't you go out to take your lunch in the same way?" Because Govinda had put some cloth, the Lord's cloth over him, and he had walked over the Lord to do his service. But he wouldn't walk out over the Lord to go back and take his lunch. Govinda kohemani amara seva se niyama aparad hau kiba narake gamana. Govinda mentally replied, "My duty is to serve, even if I have to commit offenses or go to hell." So Govinda is thinking, I can make some offense to cross over the Lord, to do my service, to massage his legs, and massage him, and he can take rest. But Govinda couldn't cross over the Lord to go take his own lunch. He could cross over the Lord for what he considered was his service to the Lord, but he's not going to cross again to go out of the room just for his own self. So he stayed there sitting by the Lord till the Lord awoke. So then the Lord could let Govinda pass, but meanwhile he's just waiting there while the Lord's resting. Govinda mentally replied, "My duty is to serve, even if I have to commit offenses or go to hell. Seva lagi koti aparad nahigani swanimita aparada bhashe bhayamani." I would not mind committing hundreds and thousands of offenses for the service of the Lord, but I greatly fear committing even a glimpse of an offense for my own self. Etad sab manikori Govinda rahila prabhuje puchila tara utaran na dila. Thinking in this way, Govinda kept silent. He did not reply to the Lord's inquiry. Pratyaha prabhur nidraya jana prasad loite sediva sera kshrama deki lagila chapite. It was Govinda's practice to go take lunch while the Lord was asleep. On that day, however, seeing the Lord's weariness, Govinda continued massaging his body. Jaiteha patanahi jaibekimone maha aparada hoy prabhur langane. There was no way to go. How could he leave? When he thought of crossing over the Lord's body, he considered it a great offense. Esab hoy bhakti shastra shukshma marma chaitanya kripai jane esab dharma. These are some of the finer points of etiquette in devotional service. Only one who has received the mercy of Mahaprabhu can understand these principles. Karmis, fruitive workers, cannot understand the finer conclusions of devotional service because they accept only its ritualistic value, but do not understand how devotional service satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Karmis view the formalities as a means of advancing in religion, economic development, sensual satisfaction, and liberation. Although these are only material results of following religious principles, the Karmis consider them everything. Such ritualistic activities are called karma. Karmis who adopt devotional service very loosely and who therefore remain on the platform of material activities are called prakrita sahajiyas. They cannot understand how pure devotional service is rendered, they cannot understand how pure devotional service is rendered and parental and conjugal love. For this can be understood only by the special mercy bestowed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upon pure devotees. Bhakta Guna Prakashite Prabhu Bhorarangi Esa Prakashite Koila Etabangi. The Lord is very interested in manifesting the exalted qualities of his devotees, and that is why he engineered this incident. Sankepi Kohilun E Parimunda Nritya Adyapiya Gai Jaha Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thus I have briefly described Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing in the hall of the Jagannath temple. The servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sing about this dancing even now. The hall is called Jagamohan. I believe that's what's... Emata Mahaprabhu Laya Nijagan Gundicha Grihera Koila Kalana Marjan. Accompanied by his personal associate, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and swept the Gundicha temple, cleaning it as usual. Purvavat Koila Prabhu Kirtana Nartan Purvavat Tataya Koila Manya Bojan. The Lord danced and chanted, and thus enjoyed a picnic in the garden as he had done before. Purvavat Ratagik Korila Nartan Hera Panchami Jatra Koila Darshan. As previously, he danced in front of the Jagannath car and observed the festival of Hera Panchami. Charimas Varshaya Rohila Sabhabhaktagan Janmastamiyadi Jatra Koila Darshan. All the devotees from Bengal stayed in Jagannath Puri for the 4 months of the rainy season and have observed many other ceremonies, such as the anniversary of Lord Krishna's birth, Janmastami. Purve Jadi Goda Hoite Bhakta Ganaila Prabore Kichu Kao Jaite Sabaricha Hoila. Formerly, when all the devotees had arrived from Bengal, they all desired to give Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu something to eat. Keo Kona Prashad Ani Deya Govinda Tai Iha Jena Vasya Bakan Korana Gosai. Each devotee would bring a certain type of prashadam. He would entrust it to Govinda and request him, please arrange that the Lord will... Each devotee would bring a certain type of prashadam. He would entrust it to Govinda and request him, please arrange that the Lord will surely eat this prashadam. Keho Paida, Keho Nadu, Keho Pitapan, Bahumuya Uttama Prashad, Prakara Jaranam. Keho Paida, Keho Nadu, Keho Pitapan, Bahumuya Uttama Prashada, Prakara Jaranana. Some brought paida, a coconut preparation. Some brought sweet balls, and some brought cakes and sweet rice, or pita pana. Pita pana, which is something like cake and some fruit drink. The prasadam was of different varieties, all very costly. Amuk e diache Govinda kore nivedan, duare raka bole prabhu na korena bakan. Govinda would present the prasadam and say to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this has been given by such and such devotee. The Lord, however, would not actually eat it. He would simply say, keep it in storage. So he would keep it. Darite garer borila ekan, shata janer bhakya jata hoila sanchayan. Govinda kept accumulating the food, and soon it filled the corner of the room. There was quite enough to feed at least 100 people. Govindare sabe puche korea jatan, amadatta prasada prabhure ki karaila bakan. All the devotees asked Govinda with great eagerness, "Have you given Mahaprabhu the prashadam brought by me?" Kahan kichun kohe Govinda kore banchan aradin prabhure kohe nirbeda bachan. When the devotees questioned Govinda, he had to tell them lies. Therefore, one day he spoke to the Lord in disappointment, because he would say, "Oh yes, the Lord took what you offered." He wouldn't tell me, just put in the side, the corner of the room. Acharjare mahashai koriya jatane tomare kao jaite bastu dena morastane. Many respectable devotees headed by Advaitacharya make a great endeavor to entrust me with varieties of food for you. Tumi sena cow, tara puche barbar, kata banshana korimu, kemone amaranishtar. You do not eat it, but they ask me again and again, how long shall I go on cheating them? How shall I be freed from this responsibility? Prabhu kohe adibasha, dukkha kohe mane, Keva ki diache taha anaha ekane. Mahaprabhu replied, "Why are you so foolishly unhappy? Bring here to me whatever they have given you." Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the word adibasha refers to one who has been living with another for a very long time. Govinda was addressed as adibasha because he had been living with Mahaprabhu for a very long time, whereas other devotees who were mostly new would come and go after some time. And in effect, the Lord told Govinda, since you have been living with me for a long time, you should not be foolishly disappointed in this situation. Bring all the food to me and you will see that I can eat it. Eta boli Mahaprabhu vasila bojane, Namadari Dori Govinda Kore Nivedane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down to eat, then Govinda offered him the preparations, one after another. And as he did so, he spoke the name of the person who had given each one. Acharjare Paida Panasara Pupi Ayamrita Gutika Manda Karpura Kupi. These preparations, paida, sweet rice, cakes made with cream, and also amrita gutika, manda, and a pot of camphor have been given by Advaitacharya. Srivas Panditere Aneka Prakar Pitapana, Amrita, Manda, Padma Chiniyar. Next, there are varieties of food, Pitapana, drink, and some like bread, like cakes, cream, Amrita, Manda, and Padma Chini, given by Srivas Pandit. Acharya Ratner, a sub upahar, Acharya Nidir, a Aneka Prakar. All these are gifts of Achyuta Ratna, and these varieties of gifts are from Acharya Nidhi. Acharya Nidhi is given the next kind, first Srivas Pandit, then Govinda said, and these are given by Acharya Ratna, and these varieties of gifts are from Acharya Nidhi. Vasudeva Dattar e Murari Guptir ar Buddhimanta Khaner e Bibida Prakar. And all these varieties of food have been given by Vasudeva Datta, Murari Gupta, and Buddhimanta Khan. Shriman Sen, Shriman Pandit Acharya Nandan, Tan Sabar, Datta E Koraha Bojan. These are gifts given by Shriman Sen, Shriman Pandit, and Acharya Nandan. Please eat them all. Kulina Gramere Age Dekajat, Kandabase Lokera E Dekad Dekatat. Here are the preparations made by the inhabitants of Kulinagram, and these have been made by the inhabitants of Kanda. Aiche Sabar Namaloya Prabhur Agidare Santushta Hoya Prabhu Sababojana Kore. In this way, Govinda gave everyone's name, and as he put the food before the Lord, in this way, Govinda gave everyone's name as he put the food before the Lord. Being very satisfied, the Lord began to eat it all. Jajapi, Masekera Bashi, Mukuta, Narikela, Amrita Gundikari, Payadi, Sakala, Tatapi, Nutanapai, Sabdravyera, Swad, Bashi, Vishvarat, Nahi, Say Prabhura Prashad. The hard sweets made of coconut, mukuta, narikela, the sweet balls, the many kinds of sweet drinks, and all the other preparations were at least a month old. But although they were old, they had not become tasteless or stale. Indeed, they had all stayed fresh. This is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then all these different preparations, a normal situation, they would be perishable after a few days. They would not. But by the Lord's, by the mercy of the Lord, they all remain fresh. And the Lord is taking them. Preparations are all fresh. None of them, although it's been a month since many of them were there just sitting, of course, just out in the room, and none of them spoiled. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj remarks, that is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shatajaner Bhakya Prabhu Dandike Kaila Arakichuache Bole Govinde Puchila. Within a very short time, Mahaprabhu ate enough for 100 people. Then he asked Govinda, is there anything more left? Govinda Bole Raghavera Jhali Matra Ache Prabhu Kohe Ajirahute Deho Dekimu Puche. Govinda Bole Raghavera Jhali Matrache Prabhu Kohe Ajirahu Taha Dekimu Pache. Govinda replied, now there are only the bags of Raghava, many bags made with preparations that were described, that were made by Damayanti. The Lord said, let them remain today, I shall see them later. Aradin Prabhu Jade Nibrete Bojana Koila Raghavera Jali Kuli Sakala Dekila. The next day, while taking his lunch in a secluded place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the bags of Raghava, the Raghava Jali, those preparations, and inspected their contents one after another. Sabha Dravyera Kichu Upayoga Koila Swarug Sugandhideki Bahu Prashamshila. He tasted a little of everything they contained and praised it all for the flavor and aroma. Vatsareka Tariyara Rakila Dariya Bojana Kale Sarup Pariveshe Kashaya. All the varieties of the remaining prashadam were kept to eat throughout. All the varieties of the remaining prashadam were kept to eat throughout the year, because the Raghava Raghavera Jali is all digestive preparations and many nice things, but they're meant to be taken with the meal. So Mahaprabhu would not eat them all. He would take some throughout with each of his lunches, and he would keep them, and like that they They were for during the whole year. Vatsarika Tariyara Rakila Doriya Bhojana Kali Swarup Pariveshe Kashana. All the varieties of the remaining prashadam were kept to eat throughout the year. When Mahaprabhu ate his lunch, Swarup Damodar would serve it little by little. So that was that special digestive prashadam and special thing to make the meal more digestible that was made by Damayanti. Kapuratri Kali Kichu Korana Upajog Bhaktira Shradhara Dravya Avasya Korena Upabhog. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take some of it at night. The Lord certainly enjoys preparations made with faith and love by his devotees. Hemata Mahaprabhu Bhaktagan Sange Chaturmasya Gonaila Krishna Katarange. Thus Mahaprabhu spent the entire period of Chaturmasya, the 4 months of the rainy season, in the happiness of discussing topics of Krishna with his devotees. Madhya Madhya Charjade Koreni Mantran Garebata Randeara Bibida Banjan. From time to time, Advaitacharya and others would invite Mahaprabhu for home-cooked rice and varieties of vegetables. Marichera Jadara Madhuramla Ar Aralavan Lembu Dugda Dadi Kandasar Shakadui Charis Ara Sukutara Jal Shakadui Chariarash Shukutara Jola Nimba Bartaki Ara Brishta Patola. They offered pungent preparations made with black pepper, sweet and sour preparations, ginger, salty preparations, limes, milk, yogurt, cheese, 2 to 4 kinds of spinach, soup made with bitter melon, eggplant mixed with neem flowers, and fried poto. They offered pungent preparations made with black pepper, sweet and sour preparations, ginger, salty preparations, salty preparations, limes, milk, yogurt, cheese, 2 to 4 kinds of spinach, soup made with bitter melons, which is like shukta, eggplant mixed with neem flowers, and fried pato. Brishta Fula Boriara Mudga Dali Shup Bibida Byanjana Rande Prabhar Ruchi Anurup. They also offered fulabari, liquid mung dough, and many vegetables, all cooked according to the Lord's taste. Jagannath prasad ane korite mishrita kahan ek jajan kahan ganera sahita. They would mix these preparations with the remnants of food from Lord Jagannath, with the Jagannath Prasad. When Mahaprabhu accepted the invitations, he went sometimes alone and sometimes with his associates, Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi Nandan, Raghava, Srivas, Adi Jata, Bhakta, Viprasab. Devotees like Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Nandan Acharya, Raghava Pandit, and Srivas were all of the Brahmin caste. Aimata Nimantrana Korana Jatna Kori Vasudeva Gadadhar Das Gupta Murari Kulina Grami Khandabasi Arajatajan Jagannath Prasad Ani Korini Mantran. They would extend invitations to the Lord. Vasudeva Datta Gadadhar Das, Murari Gupta, inhabitants of Kulinagram and Kanda, and the inhabitants of Kulinagram and Kanda and many other devotees were not Brahmins by caste, and they would purchase food offered to Lord Jagannath and then extend invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the sannyasis generally, they would accept invitations, and if the person was a Brahmin, then they could cook for Mahaprabhu. But if they weren't Brahmins at the time, that was the way things were, that the Lord would accept prashadam in their houses, but it was prashadam brought from the Jagannath temple. Shivananda Sener Shuna Nimantrana Kyan Shivanander Bora Putra Chaitanya Dasanam. Now hear about the invitation Shivananda Sen extended to the Lord. His eldest son was named Chaitanya Das. Shivananda Sen's eldest son, Chaitanya Das. Prabhure Milaite Tare Sangi Anila Milaile Prabhu Tara Namata Puchila. When Shivananda Sen brought his son Chaitanya Das to be introduced to the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired about his name. Mahaprabhu inquires from the son of Shivananda Sen, who's called Chaitanya Das. Mahaprabhu inquires about his name. Chaitanya Das Namashuni Kohe Gorarai Kibanam Darayacha Bhujana Najai. When the Lord heard that the boy's name was Chaitanya Das, he said, "What kind of name have you given him?" It is very difficult to understand. Sena Kohe Je Janilun Senama Darila Eta Bole Mahaprabhure Nimantrana Koila. Shivananda Sen replied, "He has kept the name that appeared to me from within." Then Shivananda Sen invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. Jagannathara Bahumuya Prasharanaila Bhaktagane Loya Prabhu Bhojana Basila. Shivananda Sen had bought very costly remnants of Lord Jagannath's food. He brought it in and offered it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who sat down to accept the prashadam with his associates, with the devotees. Shivanander Gaurave Prabhu Korila Bhojan Ati Guru Bhojane Prabhu Prashana Nahiman. Because of Shivananda Sen's glories, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate all kinds of prashadam to honor his request. However, the Lord ate more than necessary, and therefore his mind was dissatisfied. Had some, from the heaviness and everything of the food that Shivananda Sen offered to him, the Lord respected it, but he ate more than necessary, and he was not feeling so well. Shivanander Gaurave Prabhu Korila Bhojan Ati Guru Bhojane Prabhur Prashana Nahiman Aradin Chaitanya Das Koila Nimantran Prabhure Abhishta Bhuje Anila Vyanjana. The next day, Chaitanya Das, the son of Shivananda Sen, extended an invitation to the Lord. He could understand the Lord's mind, however, and therefore he arranged for a different kind of food. Different kinds of food. He could understand Mahaprabhu's fatigue and that he wasn't feeling so well after eating the meal the day before at Shivananda Sen's house. But because of Shivananda Gaurave Prabhu Korila Bhojan Adi Guru Bhojane Prabhu Prashana Nahiman Aradin Chaitanya Das Koila Nimantran Prabhu Abhishta Bhuje Anila Bhyanjan. The next day, Chaitanya Das, the son of Shivananda Sen, extended an invitation to the Lord. He could understand the Lord's mind, however, and therefore he arranged for a different kind of food. Dari lembu ada ar fula bora lavan, samagri dekia prabor prashana hoilaman. He offered yogurt, limes, ginger, and bora and salt. Seeing all these arrangements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased. Prabhu kohe e balaka mara mata jane santushta hoilan ami kore nimantrane. Prabhu kohe e balak Prabhu kohe e balak amar mata jane santushta hoilan ami ihara nimantrane. Mahaprabhu said, this boy knows my mind, therefore I am very satisfied to accept his invitation. Eta bolidadi bhata korila bojan, Chaitanya dasare dila uchishta bojan. After saying this, the Lord ate the rice mixed with yogurt and offered Chaitanya Das the remnants of his food. So, in other words, Chaitanya Das made a special meal that was with the right lighter ingredients, so that those ingredients would actually settle Mahaprabhu's stomach. And he was a little disturbed from eating the meal the previous day at Shivananda Sen's house. But then he had an invitation from Shivananda Sen's son, Chaitanya Das, who may arrange special preparations that were lighter and digestive. So after the Mahaprabhu said, Prabhu kohe balaka mara matan jane santushta hoilanami iharani mantrane. The Lord said, this boy knows my mind, therefore I am very satisfied to accept his invitation. Ita bolidariba te korila bojan, Chaitanya dasare dila uchishta bojan. After saying this, the Lord ate the rice mixed with yogurt and offered Chaitanya Das the remnants of his food. Charimasha e mata nimantrane jai kona Vaishnava divasa nahi pai. Charimas e mata nimantrane jai kon Vaishnava divasa nahi pai. The 4 months of Chatramasya passed in this manner, with the Lord accepting invitations from his devotees. Because of a heavy schedule of invitations, however, some of the Vaishnavas could not get an open day on which to invite the Lord. Gadadhar Pandita Bhattacharya Sarvabhauma Iha Sabar Ache Bikara Divasa Niyama. Every month, Gadadhar Pandit and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had fixed days on which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would accept their invitations. Gopinathacharya Jagannananda Kashishware Gopinathacharya Jagannanda Kashishwar Bhagavan Ramabhadracharya Shankar Bhakreshwar. Gopinathacharya, Jagannananda Kashishwar, Bhagavan, Ramabhadracharya, Shankar, and Virkeshwar, who were all Brahmins, extended invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and offered him food cooked at home, whereas other devotees would pay 2 panas, a small conch shells, to purchase Jagannath's prashadam and then invite the Lord. So those are not Brahmins. They would purchase the Lord's remnants from the Jagannath temple and invite the Lord and feed him the remnants of the prashadam that was purchased or was gotten from the Jagannath temple. They themselves did not cook for the Lord, because they're not Brahmins. Pratame Achila Nirbandha Kodi Charipan Ramachandra Puri Baye Gataila Nimantran. At first, the cost of Jagannath Prasadam for an invitation was 4 panas of conch shells. But when Ramachandra Puri was there, the price was cut in half, because like Ramachandra Puri is always criticizing the devotees for their eating habits. So when he was there, they would give half, they would buy half as much food as they normally would utilize. Charimasha rohe godera bhakte bidai dila nila chaler sange bhakta sange rahila. The devotees who came from Bengal stayed with Mahaprabhu for 4 consecutive months, and then the Lord bade them farewell. After the Bengali devotees departed, the devotees who were the Lord's personal companions at Jagannath Puri stayed with the Lord. Eta kohilun prabhur bhikkani mantran bhaktadatta bastu jache koila ashvadan. Thus I have described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted invitations and how he accepted and tasted the prashadam offered by his devotees. Taramadye raghavera jhali vivaran taramadye parimunda nritya akatan. In the midst of that narration are descriptions of Raghava Pandit's bags, raghavera jhali, something that was made for the whole year. In the midst of that narration are descriptions of Raghava Pandit's bags of food and the dancing in the temple of Jagannath. Shraddha Kori Shuni Jai Chaitanya Rakata Chaitanya Charane Prima Paibe Sarvata. One who hears about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with faith and love will certainly attain ecstatic love for the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without fail. Shunite Amrita Samajudai Karmaman Se Bhagyavan Jai Kori Ashvadan. Narrations of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities are just like nectar to hear. Indeed, they satisfy both the ears and mind. One who tastes the nectar of these activities is certainly very fortunate. Shri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following their footsteps. Praying at the Shri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus, so praying at the lotus feet. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, 10th chapter, describing how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tasted the prashadam offered by his devotees. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Garadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Garadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jao ete vignana shamista puran Jao ete vignana shamista puran H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas, H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas, Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras, Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras, Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas, Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas, Janame More Abhilas, Janame More Abhilas, H.I. Gosai Jabe Branche Koilabas, H.I. Gosai Jabe Branche Koilabas, Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash, Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash, Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan, Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjayi Aman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjayi Aman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bada Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Bhagwat Ki Jai, Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Jayom Vishnupad Vishvavaranya, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mayapur Ki Jai, Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Sri Koladvip Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Brinda Ki Jai, Sokel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.